It's been oh, 4.5 years now since I released my very first book, Sykes Unfinished Agony. I didn't know where I was going with it. Didn't know whether it was going to be any good. Didn't know whether I was going to be any good. Um, all I knew was I was interested in that fella, and it was basically. I think I spoke to 84 people in total, but I only put 50 in the book. So overall, this is basically lots of people want to. When you've watched Paul Sykes at large, you Google him, you find out he died. You find out his end was what was basically anything that you thought. Such a character, such a big physical specimen of a man could ended up helpless and pretty much a vulnerable adult, and it doesn't add up to the picture portrayed of him in Paul Sykes at Large. It certainly doesn't portray him as someone who would have ended up like that when you read his book, which Paul released in 1990, Sweet Agony. So I did the sequel, and it was basically, as I said, I spoke to, I think, 84 people. Famous people, infamous people, notorious people, prison people, Wakefield people, family members. So that book is kind of wrapped up. Basically, you kind of gather, what happened to that venerable character. And it kind of, I know it's kind of 50 people's opinions, but I've did it in an order where obviously the childhood friends, the family members were at the start. Obviously, Paul's middle life, and gradually to the very end of his life, to the people who were looking after him. So you're kind of left with not any doubt to basically find out the full story. One guy who I was really privileged enough to speak with was, he couldn't really talk to me in a professional capacity, but he did give me his opinion. And that was the, if anyone's watched Paul Sykes at Large, the Hull prison governor, he was a guy called Philip Wheatley, glasses on, beard up to here, literally looked like a werewolf. Cracking beard. He still got it to this day, and he did share his opinion on me of Paul Sykes from from the time he'd had him in various prisons, such as Hull prison. What else was he in? I think he was the governor of Long Lartin prison, he told me as well, so he had him in there. So I'm just going to read you that. The link for this book is in the bio, so if you click on this video and you'd like to buy it, it's £4.95 via Kindle, and the paperback is £14.95, I think. It's on audio as well. Might be £12.95. I'm not sure. I've done that many books now. So I'll read you Phil Wheatley's, and I spoke to him in August 2015. So what's that? 6 years ago. So this is what he said. Paul Sykes was physically a very impressive presence and enormously strong. This was confirmed by some impressive weightlifting feats during his imprisonment. When younger, he was also very agile. This combination made him a very good boxer until age and undisciplined habits, when out of prison, slowed his reactions and reduced his agility. He also had a good degree of raw knowledge and sharp wit. However, he was always very egotistical. And when he lost control of himself, he had a capacity for uncontrolled and extreme violence. This lack of self-control and self-centered focus got worse over the nearly 20 years I knew of him in the prison system. It meant he could not survive long in ordinary prison environment without losing it and presenting a grave danger to prison staff, as well as striking fear into the other prisoners. Hence his eventual prison location in the Specialist Hull Prison Unit, which was obviously kept for the worst of the worst. Back in, what was it? It was released from that documentary, 1989, going back 30 years ago. He continued, he said, when he was calm and rational, he could be insightful and amusing commentator on prison life, and he used his time in prison to learn. So he was surprisingly well informed on several topics. So that's what Phil Wheatley told me. I'll just read you the synopsis stroke blurb for the back of the book. And I started this book with one of Paul Sykes' quotes, which I did. I went through the Wakefield archives years ago, and I studied papers from the 1980s. So this is what Paul Sykes said in one of the papers in the Wakefield Express. I'm 6'3". God made me too big to take orders from little bastards. That's not me. I've never done it. I've never done it in the nick, and I don't do it outside. I make my own rules and I live by them. So that's kind of, you really can grasp that is the mentality of that Paul Sykes character. So I sum this book up, and this is what my take was it on. Paul Sykes from Lupset near Wakefield died aged 60 in Pinderfields Hospital from pneumonia and cirrhosis of the liver. He was a man whose life might have been changed by success in a boxing ring. But despite contending for the British and Commonwealth heavyweight titles, he sank back into his old habits, heralding a return to the self-destructive course of his life. By 1990, he had spent 21 out of 26 years in 18 different prisons, and as recently as 2006 was still coming to the attention of the law. His years in prison were not entirely wasted, earning an open university degree in physical sciences. And his book, Sweet Agony, received the Arthur Koestler Award for prison literature. Unfinished Agony is the journey of what happened to Paul Sykes in the years between the 1990 TV documentary, Paul Sykes at Large, and his eventual demise in 2007. Interviews of people who knew Paul, both personally and professionally, and piecing together his last 17 years, along with some tales from Paul's younger days, this book gives a balanced view on the man Sykes, who he was and what he was about. With a little controversy along the way, Unfinished Agony doesn't shy away from the truth. For sure, it hasn't always been easy to hear people's views on Paul, but it does without doubt bring across his huge one-off personality, the good and the bad, and it was an absolute roller coaster to say the least. So that was my first book. Just finished my 20th, and I've got 21 and 22 already done on my computer, but they're not released, not yet. So that started as a hobby. I had no idea where it was gone, and I've kind of become an accidental author, if you like. But none of it would have happened without the interest in that. So I've kind of got a lot to thank him for, really. So yeah, but anyway, if anyone's more interested in discovering Paul Sykes, you've watched Paul Sykes at Large, you've probably watched his fight with John O'Gardner, you've seen Danger Men on YouTube, which I dug out a couple of years back, or should I say Warcry Publishing did, because it was never aired on the telly. Anyone who wants to watch it, it's on YouTube. If you just type in Danger Men, Paul Sykes. It was supposed to be on February 1990, but a prisoner escaped and it never seen the light of day. We kind of pulled it out and put it on YouTube for everyone to see, which was a stroke of genius, really, by people at Warcry Publishing. But obviously, that was the first one. So Paul Sykes was born in 1946, and he sadly passed in 2007. I followed it up with another Amazon bestseller, which was what was it? Sykes, Further Agony, and I closed the curtain with Sykes' Final Agony. Obviously, Warcry Publishing, we now own the rights to Sweet Agony, and Rob Brenton did his own book called that one behind me. It's Sharks, Paul Sykes in the Straits of Johor. So if anyone is interested in that character, there's 5 books, and it has been signed to be a feature film and documentary by Western Edge Pictures, and that's going to be, should have started film in September last year, but obviously with COVID, it's knocked it back, but there's some really good, exciting news I've been told on that, and we'll be releasing in the next couple of weeks, but it's very, very much happening. It's going to really raise a lot of eyebrows when we release the cast and who's involved and who's going to be doing the full soundtrack and where it's filmed, and there's a good budget on the film, and I think I'm really, really convinced that when this happens, when this film explodes, he'll be a household name, because until the last couple of years, people have watched the documentary, they've seen him talk about punching sharks, but the full picture, the full story is really gripping. It really is. So hence the reason why I started writing books on him. There was would have been a point where maybe I would have only done them books, because that's the interest I had in it was that great. So anyway, guys, listen, the link for that book is in the bio if you want to click on. As I said, it's $4.95 from Amazon. The audio is available as well. If anyone can't be asked reading, you haven't got time, you want to listen to it on the night. So yeah, it's on everything. It's in most Waterstones. There's 330 in Great Britain. You can go in any shop and order it if it's not already in, and I think Amazon's basically the easiest way to get it. But don't forget to leave your comments, guys, below. Also click and subscribe. Forgot what I was going to say there. And there'll be more videos coming on the when the films start, and I'm going to be speaking to the director. Already have done, but he's going to let me allow stuff out, and you'll find it as exciting as I am, because whether you loved him, hated him, just were I've sat and watched Adolf Hitler documentaries and been greatly fascinated in him, but he was a monster. And Paul Sykes, certainly causes huge mixed emotions. I went in one bookshop and I said, how come you don't stock the book? And he said, because we remember that bastard outside when he was spitting and shouting at us all. And, so that was just one shot I won't name. And then there's other people that just won't hear a bad word against him. But it's all, it's all about opinions. And, the one thing, I don't think I put it in that book. I spoke to Kenny the tailor from Paul Sykes at Large. The old guy who went, oh, double-breasted. Oh no, that obviously when he went, I need a bit of credit, Kenny. He's still about. He's in here, But what he did tell me was, he said, when Paul used to come in my shop, and he'd always used to give me a great big hug, and he said, do you know what, Kenny? And years to come when I'm dead, people are going to come and write a book about me. And he's absolutely right. And I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. And I went, really? And he said, yeah. He used to say it all the time. It was always a favourite thing he said. And do you know what? You know, he certainly left a trail of notoriety. As I said, as I always kind of say, Delroy Showers often says, notoriety in itself is a form of success. So maybe, you know, that guy who was a down and out, vulnerable, would be walking like that. Suffer from, what was it? Arthritis really bad to the point where he couldn't even open a can of beer. So maybe that guy, and one of his sayings, I don't think it was in that book, it was one of them. And a guy from Wakefield, I mean, people used to look at Paul Sykes, who's part of the furniture. It's a shame that I think YouTube come along about 2006, Paul Sykes died 2007, but it would have been massive today if YouTube was about. It would have had a lot of fans and a lot of interest. And this guy was opening his premises one morning, and he seen Sykes there with a can of beer, kind of swaying like that. And the guy went to him, what the fuck are you looking at? And that was it. Paul Sykes said to him, what was it he said? I think Paul Sykes, the guy said to him, it could basically, long story short, he said, what are you looking at? And he said, your has-been, that was it. What you're looking at, your fucking has-been. That's what he said to Paul Sykes, because he was annoying him. He had a business to run. Sykes was outside his shop drinking booze in the bottom of, not Westgate, it's a Kirkgate. Guy, tattooist he has. And so you know, he didn't, you know, Paul used to kind of get a lot on everyone's nerves, particularly at the end of his life. So this guy said, what the fuck are you looking at, your has-been? And Sykes just kind of, you know, laughed and drank his beer and just went, better a has-been than a never was been. And the guy said to me, do you know something? He said he just completely floored me. He said he completely dropped me, because the fact of the matter is, he was a has-been, he was a somebody, and in the blink of an eye, he was a nobody, as Neil Malpass put in that book. But I think Paul Sykes said to him something like, better a has-been than a never was been. And the guy said to me, do you know something? I'm a fucking never was been. And he said it was just an unbelievable one-liner where I didn't know, I couldn't say anything else to him back. And I think Sykes just drank his beer and walked off and probably annoyed somebody else. But yeah, you know, well, going back, guys, before I leave, this book is 50 chapters of, you know, boxing people, prison people, famous people, people who knew him, Paul's social worker. You know, yeah, it's people from Sky. And it's even got 3 members of the Sykes family in that as well. So don't forget to go in the bio, guys. Click on the link and that will take you to buy that on Amazon. And don't forget to click and subscribe for more Paul Sykes bits of information, because it is going to be a feature film, Western Edge Pictures. Anyone doesn't believe it, go and Google it. Paul Sykes film by Western Edge Pictures. And it's also going to be a documentary as well. And, you know, even though I've done the books and I'm finished and I've walked away, I don't think it's going to be the end of him. I can just see the snowball, the PR grapevine just going on and on and on, because, you know, particularly since I've done that book, I mean, I've spoken to quite famous people, really, really well-known people who are absolutely obsessed with that character. So it's not just people like me. As I said, I think I've told it before. I think I maybe put it in that book. I mean, Jamie Carragher is often talking about Paul Sykes once a month on Twitter, but it's also people like Robbie Williams and Ricky Gervais and the League of Gentlemen and Bob Mortimer and there's actually a few I'm probably not allowed to name because they've told me in confidence, but yeah, it's everyone knows who that guy is, and it all started because of just some crazy talk about punching sharks on the Lupset estate of Wakefield. So don't forget, guys, click and subscribe. If anyone wants any more information on Paul Sykes, there's a Twitter page and there's a Facebook page as well, and that's run by Warcry Publishing. They own all the rights of the 5 books. So anyone wants any more information, give them a message, guys, and they'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks for your time, guys. God bless.